All In Sports Network. We love sports.
Coming to you from the land of Bristol, stars and long. Unstable Blues.
Welcome back in. The Colts come out of Nashville singing a winning tune for the second year in a row. Now back to 500. We will give you the lowdown, and of course, gotta stick around for our Mayflower Move and Stars of the game. So, let's go. All in Colts.
That's right. I'm Kevin. This is my son Liam, and we are the Unstable Blues. Happy to present All In Colts as part of the Rogue Media Sports Network.
Yeah. One injury this game being Ryan Kelly. His calf got hurt, so not the greatest, but I mean, could be a lot worse.
I mean, Tanner Bortolini has done a great job filling in.
As they march it right down Pittsburgh's throat.
Yep, awesome.
It will never get old. That kind of energy is so great. I was wondering before the game why they didn't move Tanner Bortolini over in Will Fry's spot, considering that Ryan Kelly was back. Turns out it was a good thing because then they had him to switch in there.
Yep.
All right, time for the narrative of the game. The Colts started hot, scoring a touchdown and forcing a 3-and-out.
Yeah, but the next drive resulted in an interception that led the Titans to a game-tying touchdown.
Yes. There was certainly the story of penalties that kept drives alive for the Titans.
Yeah, but the Colts were able to overcome most of them on offense.
Then there was the MPJ touchdown. Flacco threw off the back foot with two defenders in his face.
And not to mention he mossed Snead, who was supposedly the top corner last year.
Yep.
Top corner, what?
Went up and got it, pulled it down. He only had 3 catches, but those 3 catches were monumental, and he basically stole all 3 of them from the defenders.
Yeah. Blackman effectively sealed the game with his interception with about 5 minutes left in the game. The Colts did a really good job of stalling the clock out, keeping it moving, and then they have a bold bootleg. Flacco gets out there, lasers it to Pittman, who again he catches and
right
moss Snead again.
Yep.
And then they were able to run the clock out. A penalty saved them first down, I believe. And then they were able to run the clock down even more. And then Rigoberto Sanchez with an amazing punt down to the 3-yard line. I was working on that last night, actually. We had my flag football team, who I don't think I'm actually going to be able to play for, but that's a different story. One of the teammates got kicked off the team because of bad sportsmanship and stuff like that. He didn't have to get kicked off the team. But it was our choice, and we were trying to basically say, okay, if we kick him off, can they add me to the team, kind of as like a trade type of thing? And they're also like, he's super respectful, he won't do anything super unsportsmanlike. But long story short, I don't think I'm actually on the team, which is fine. I'll be on the team next year.
You were working on punts.
But I was working on punts. I was pinning them inside the 10-yard line. I was at 60 yards away, maybe. So I was getting a good bounce roll and then a bounce back, something like that. And then I was getting punts that were way up in the air, getting people to kind of muff them and drop them. And I'm like, if you muff that, my defenders are coming and popping you. So, but I mean, amazing.
With good sportsmanship.
Yes, of course.
Yep.
And whenever Rigo did that, I stood up and I did the Pat McAfee golf swing.
Yep. There was something put out by the NFL highlighting that, and I just said, you know what? Colts have Unitas and Manning and Luck, but they also have Hunter Smith, Pat McAfee, and Rigoberto Sanchez. So, like, yes, credit to the QBs, but the Colts punt game is the history is pretty strong. Pretty
I
strong.
mean, we've had some pretty good kickers too. I mean,
Yep.
the best kicker ever we've had.
Yep. And Vandercheck before he became Vandershank was really good.
Yep. Matt Gay, I cannot say the same though. Anyways, time for the stat sheet. Joe Flacco went 22 for 38, only 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception.
But quality work. Will Levis, 16 for 27, 95 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Yep. Pollard had 93 yards, not 100 yards, thankfully, on 17 carries and a touchdown. A big conversion of a touchdown, 23-yard rushing touchdown. I saw, once again, you're in that type of situation. Okay, it's 3rd and long. They're not going to get it. They're going to run the ball. Just hold them. Missed 2 or 3 tackles, and he gets into the end zone.
Yep. Goodson broke out, though, with 8 carries for 51 yards.
Yep. Josh First Downs led the way again for the Colts with 7 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown. You have him in fantasy this week?
I think I swapped him out this week.
Okay.
But okay. I'm playing I'm playing Malia, your older sister, which she did really good that first week, I think. Second week something, but has kind of trailed off as the girls they don't pay too much attention as the season goes on and just kind of let it be.
Yeah.
Mo Alley Cox and Drew Ogletree chipped in another 65 yards on 6 catches combined. You called it with the tight ends. Good job and good call.
I did. DeAndre Hopkins had 54 yards for the Titans.
Ernest Jones led them with 10 tackles.
Zaire Franklin was back on top with 9 tackles, and Nick Cross added 8. Each had a tackle for loss as well. I checked the stats for who is in the lead. I don't know if they updated it just yet.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, it said 54 for EJ. So, and he was tied in first still with the Raiders guy. So whenever I looked at that, that made me kind of look. I was like, I don't think they've updated it yet.
Yeah,
so,
maybe not. Sometimes you got to wait till Tuesday, depending on which site you look at. So,
well, the site I have, it's normally it's just I have like an app thing. It happens like almost like right now. It'll probably have the updated stats.
Yeah.
So,
Dio and Latu each had 2 QB hits, no sacks on the day, but those 4 QB hits between those two, pretty impressive.
I think one of those QB hits was a pressure that led to the Julian Blackmon interception. I think it was Latu getting in there. Big
Dio got in there. Yep.
Dio,
right.
Okay.
On a stunt right up the middle, unblocked.
Yep. The defense as a whole held the Titans to only 239 total yards of offense. Yes, it is the Titans, but we held a team to under 300 yards, which is big. Under 250 as well.
Right. I mean, most quarterbacks have thrown for more yards than they got total yards against the Colts. So, what are some of your intangibles, though, not on the stat sheet, the things that come to mind to go, you know what, this made a big difference in the game?
Honestly, there's a lot of penalties. Both sides kind of saving them. The Colts had over 100 yards on penalties.
Yeah.
I won't get too in detail about that aspect just because we don't necessarily talk about the refs unless it's maybe the Chiefs.
Yep. Right.
But also I may foreshadowing, I may talk about that a little bit later.
Okay.
But I think our special teams played a really big role in today's game. Matt Gay not missing a kick today was also really big, as the score shows. He made an extra point and 2 field goals. Really, really good job. I mean, easy field goals, but still field goals nonetheless. I think our running game definitely getting not back to where it normally is, because I don't know if you can do that with JT. JT is just special. Like, no matter how good your O-line is, JT is something special.
Yep.
So, but still, your
Goodson
running game.
Goodson had that one run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, your run game being up there enough of a threat where they still have to put 4 guys in the box, maybe send a 5th as well. Obviously, Joe Flacco didn't throw for, as much as I think people expected him to. My thing is, if you at least have more touchdowns than you have interceptions, then you did good. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 turnover for, I think it was each team.
Yep. That's correct.
So the turnover battle was the same.
Yep.
And it resulted in a close game, a 1-possession game. All of our games have been 1 possessions.
Yep.
Which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It means that
you keep up.
Right. If you're at 500 and you've been in all 1-possession games, it means you're used to that kind of situation, which helps you as the season goes on to know how to handle those things. The idea is like, this is why, everybody goes, oh, the 0-2 start. Yeah. Okay. But if you lose 2 games in a row in November or December,
That's
now
bigger than
we're into a problem. Like you need to be hitting your stride toward the end of October, beginning of November. That's when you want to go on a little bit of a run, a little bit of a streak. You want to really be hitting your stride then.
Yeah.
So, the fact that we are now mid-October and the Colts are 3-3, it's not too bad. I mean, this would have been pretty bad had the Colts been now 0-3 in the division, and 2 of those games having been on the road, which means home games later. But still, you'd been 0-3 in the division, and the Titans would have taken over second place in the division. Yeah. So the fact that you're 1-2 in the division, and one of those games came on the only win that you have in the division came on the road, is a big deal. Like, we didn't want to talk this up too much ahead of time and be like, oh, this was a must win, right? That gets thrown around too much, but it was a big deal, this win. Any other intangibles?
No, not really.
I got a question for you related to Matt Gay. How much do you think the confidence and faith that Shane Steichen had mentioned that kind of somehow went away in some of his pressers in Matt Gay factored into the 4th and 3 going for it? That was inside the 30.
Yeah.
Inside your own 30. You went for it on 4th and 3 in the 3rd quarter. When
didn't have to.
You were up. Is that right?
Yeah.
You were up 10-7 at that point, I think.
I don't think so. I think they were down 10-17.
Yeah.
I think they were down 10-17.
Okay.
So a field goal doesn't do much, but it still does something.
And all they ended up doing was still a field goal because they weren't able to punch it in. There were some questionable calls down there in the low red zone where we're running it on a consistent basis. Nothing fancy, and I expected way more from Shane Steichen and the creativity there.
Yeah.
So, we're not going to sugarcoat it. It was a win, but there's still stuff to work on, and still some stuff that Shane Steichen and Jim Bob Cooter and our amazing offense, no matter who's a quarterback, can work on. Yes, Anthony Richardson makes a big difference there. You can spread the field, go with a designer run there, and probably punch it in. But still, you can spread the field with Joe Flacco and make it easier for your running back to be able to punch it in, or somebody on an end around, or even Joe Flacco on a naked bootleg, something that's a little bit more creative than handing the ball to Trey Sermon three plays in a row.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, what are we doing here?
Exactly. All right. So I guess you never answered my question. Do you think Matt Gay and his lack of consistency from deep made that call?
I don't think it made
Nope.
that call. I think that was Shane just being Shane, trying to be creative. And I don't know if it was a stupid. I mean, obviously, it wasn't stupid.
Because you ended up with the same score.
Yes, because you ended up with a field goal. So at the time, you're like, okay, it's 4th and 3. What are we doing? I saw that going on. I'm like, oh my goodness, guys, what are we doing here? And then Josh hit an amazing route. I mean, he has the most crispy routes that I've seen in a while.
Like this, right? It's got to go like this.
Yes, like
this.
like this,
Right. Not
like this. This is fine, not this. You just can't have the
this is
finger.
fine. This is not fine. Not fine. Okay.
First down.
Right.
That's okay.
Right. We gotta be careful there. Okay.
Yes, but I mean, I honestly don't know. I think it was just Shane being Shane, but I think definitely the Matt Gay kind of thing kind of goes into it as well.
Yeah. All right. 3 words came to mind as I was thinking this. Okay. One is balance. You look at how this game played out. 189 yards passing, 80 yards rushing. 4 receivers had more than 20 yards. So Joe Flacco spreading the ball out. There's not just one bell cow. There's not just one guy, one superstar. We're spreading the ball. We're balanced. Offense, defense, team win, special teams. We're talking about all these different receivers, and rightly so, right?
Yeah.
Gutsy, defined by Pittman's performance. And here's what Joe Flacco had to say about that.
He's got to be one of the toughest players I've played with. I think part of him was probably trying to prove a point. I think there was a report that came out earlier. I saw it on like my ESPN at like Pittman out or whatever it is, and it's awesome. I mean, when you have guys like that, you can go a long way, and that's the kind of guys you need to have to play winning football. And he's unbelievable for that.
Let's face it. That we talked about ahead of time. That Titans defense is not easy. It's not pushover. They're going to attack everything that they can. And they came after Josh Downs. They were hitting everybody hard to try to prove a point. And Pittman was supposed to be maybe looking at IR, as the report said, with the back. And he's like, nope, I'm going to make the day. I'm going to make this touchdown that we need to go ahead. I'm going to catch this pass that we got to have this first down to keep running the clock. Josh first downs, there were several times where they thought that they got the ball out, but he just he was already down, but they just came after, and they just came out with a gutsy performance. The last word, the third word, patient. They waited for the game to come to them, which is something that I believe I said was a key to the game, right? Take what the defense gives you. Joe Flacco, I think this is a credit to Joe Flacco, this point right here. Doesn't panic. We're down. We're up. We had to settle for a field goal. We live to fight another day. We get an early interception. Yeah, it leads to a touchdown. Okay, now it's tied. There's no panic. There's no like, what are we going to do? We're just going to keep going. We're going to let the game come to us. And that's what they did. And that's how they won it. Also,
I think I saw one time where Joe was actually kind of flustered, and that was only because of himself. He missed a touchdown throw to Alec Pearson. Afterwards, he was bending over because he was frustrated with himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
he
missed
times 2 in a row there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The first one, he was like, okay. Second one, though, to Pierce, was tough for him because he overthrew him just by like maybe a yard. He puts it just a little less oomph on it, and that's a touchdown or inside the 10. And I would think Joe knew that would be a big part of the game if he could have hit that, but he didn't, and it's fine. Still got the game, still got the win. So
Yep.
you like you said, take what the defense gives you.
Yep. Speaking of Pierce and Ashton Doolin, they didn't show up on the stat sheet, but they stretched the field. They won penalties. AP had that big PI down there, and they had those near misses to continue to work the defense, right? You don't have to show up on the stat sheet. Alec knows this as a fact the past 2 years to affect the game. The man ran more than just about anybody last year, but hardly ever got thrown the ball because Gardner Minshew didn't have the arm strength to get it there. You don't have to show up on the stat sheet to affect the game. You simply have to be a team player. And, so salute to you guys. We see you still running. And even if the ball doesn't find your hands, you still are a threat and you make people guard you, and that frees up other things. So that's my intangibles. What's your Mayflower move? Your game-changing play of the game.
I think I have one that I'm going to talk about, but it's not the actual one. That being the PI down the field that you talked about with Alec Pierce, because I think that was just such a big point of the game. You're testing him. I think if he doesn't get held there, he catches that ball.
Oh, yeah.
It's a one-on-one coverage. It's a jump ball for Alec Pierce. I trust him more than anyone. Actually, I trust him second on our team. I trust Michael Pittman more just because that's – I mean, go back to the Ravens. Catching it. But that was probably my honorable mention for it. But the actual Mayflower move of the game is the Rigoberto Sanchez punt down the 3-yard line. I have to give some love to my punter. As a fellow punter kicker myself, I greatly appreciated watching that. Not many times do you see a punt that's that good anymore, and now it just kind of gets some leg underneath it. Special teams aspect of the game has gone away so much, which is very, very sad. But especially since it was like there were 2 guys that he almost got blocked by, but he was able to get out just in time. And you pin him deep there with no timeout, so they have pretty much no chance. Levis has a cannon, and he was there to show it, but he did not do the right. He passed it, but there's nothing else he could have done about it.
Yeah.
I think maybe you could have lateraled it to someone on the sideline and ran out of bounds before it hit 0, just to have one more shot at it, so you're like maybe a little bit closer. But not much you can do about it whenever the Colts are playing ultra prevent. They don't care if you get 98 yards and you stop them on the other 2. Yeah, it goes against the stats, but that's a throwaway 98 yards that they gave you. So definitely the punt there.
And to me, it was so amazing to see, when they showed it on the pylon cam, to see it you've got this punt that's going all the way down the field, and somehow it just lands and misses the ground, bounces, and then just lays down. What control it must take in the leg, in the foot, to be able to have the power to get it all the way up and down and down there, but then have it land like that. Amazing. Chef's kiss.
Yep.
That was going to be mine, but I have some others that I can choose from. So, it was going to be mine. I was going to give love to the punter as well.
You still can.
Great minds. So I'll leave that as my my honorable mention. My other honorable mention is the 4th and 3 conversion, simply because me as a couch coach, as I call it, I'm coaching from the couch, but I have no idea what's happening in the game. For real. I don't have a headset on. I'm not down there. I feel like I know enough that I could, but in actuality, I'm just trying to coach from the couch. But I'm like, no, what are we doing? What's happening? Don't just take the points. What are you doing? I know it's like you're still down 4 and down a touchdown, but it's better than giving them the field position. Right? Downs. Okay, we got it.
Okay.
That's the range of frustration to relief that caused in me. Still an honorable mention, though, because I'm going to give the actual Mayflower move to the Blackman INT.
Yep.
I'm also going to continue to double down on the Dio pressure that caused it.
Yeah.
Because, once again, as we've talked about, team, right? The whole team. Now, we have not talked about how our whole defensive back held the elderly statesman of the Titans receiving corps to 100 and something? No, 95 yards.
Yeah.
95 yards is all that they threw for. Our 7th round player, draft pick from 2 years ago, or not this past year, year before, Jalen Jones, and a waived 5th rounder in Sam Womack held DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, Kenny Moore, and Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley only had 9 yards. I told you. They got to make them look old. Guess what? They looked old.
Yep.
And washed up. And but once again, team, right? So all of that caused then Dio to go in the stunt. He's unblocked. So the longest part of this play was not the blocking, but simply going around his own guy on the backside, coming up straight up the gut, straight in the face of Levis. So Levis had to launch it, had to sail it, and then Blackman was just right there for basically like the fair catch interception that he just whoop, and then ran out of bounds, you know? So I am going to say that my Mayflower move is that entire play. Who then is your star of the game? Are you going punter as well?
I am not going punter.
Okay.
I'm going with probably the obvious answer in Josh First Downs. Led the team again for the 2nd or 3rd week in a row. 2nd because Pierce had the big game, three catches for. But he led the team this week in yards, got a touchdown on top of it. Seems very consistent, especially with Joe Flacco. And I'm proud to see him pick up exactly where he left off last year. He's been playing phenomenal.
Yeah. Mine's got to be Sam Womack. It's been coming. It's been coming.
You've praised Sam Womack a lot.
And he was my player to watch. And he had 2 huge pass breakups at just the right time. He was in on a bunch of different stuff. If he wasn't like right there, he was causing the play to go where it needed to go. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like, once again, kind of back to the Alec and Ashton thing. You don't have to show up on the stat sheet to affect the play. And so, if you have good enough coverage, they're not going to throw to you. And so,
sure.
All
the stats that don't actually appear on the stat sheet.
Right. Like, you're not going to see sticky coverage on a stat sheet, And so what do you give him? Well, we give him, when you do throw to him, 2 pass breakups, 2 passes defensed. Like, 2 passes defensed is incredible. It just is. Like, to be able to break up those balls on those receivers at, critical points in the game, big deal. So, Sam Womack, I see you. Congratulations. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Well, that is it for today. Tomorrow, update from the South. Later this week, we will have our Unstable Pick 6. Fantasy Stable, our preview of the Dolphins' visit to Indy next week.
Yep. This is Liam.
And this is Kevin.
Reminding you to stay all in Colts.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.